Diana Grijalva, welcome to Dirtbag Rich.
Thank you.
If I'm an American who loves the outdoors but hates the winter and the cold, where are some places I can go? Where are places that you have gone to escape Northern Hemisphere winter?
I've gone all over the world, but if you want to stay in the US, I feel like the Southwest is really cool, like Joshua Tree. I'm usually rock climbing, so I'd go to like Red Rocks outside of Vegas. But it's also nice if you're not rock climbing, just to be in these places in Joshua Tree. I spent a lot of time outside of Moab. It does get cold at night, but it's like really beautiful during the day. But again, I'm heavily influenced by my need to rock climb there. But generally, I would say just leave the U.S.
Yeah, tell me more. Where do I go if I want to spend less money and be warm?
Oh my God, you could go anywhere. Southeast Asia is super easy, but then you have hordes of kids just drinking too much. You can go to Morocco. Anywhere in the Mediterranean is probably like the loveliest place to go. Like it could be Turkey, it could be Italy, it could be Greece, it could be anywhere there. You could go to India is quite nice, Sri Lanka. Anywhere along the equator is going to be wonderful.
Based upon physics, Blake, anywhere along the equator will be warmer.
Yeah.
We're going to get to your physics background, Diana. But first, tell me, where have you gone to in the winter the most? Like, what's your repeat destination?
I feel like I have, like, I'll be like really into a place and I'll do that for a few years. And then I kind of like shift over to something else. I started going to Mexico, like northern Mexico, to a place called Potrero Chico outside of Monterrey, Mexico. And that was after spending a lot of time in the Southwest, but I was just kind of getting tired of the really cold winters. It's actually not cold during the day, but it's cold at night, which if you're in a tent, that can get a little annoying. But after Mexico, I started going to Southeast Asia and spent a lot of time in Thailand and Laos and those spots. And then I started going to more like South Asia. Like I spent some time in like India, and then I started doing a little bit of Europe, like Mediterranean areas, like Spain and Greece. Also like Chile, Argentina, and then I also did some like traveling in Africa. So it could be like East Africa, North Africa, Southern Africa. Yeah.
Maybe I should ask you how
lovely.
many winters you've actually spent. How many complete winters have you spent, like in a cold place, in a wintry place?
I don't know ever if I have. Maybe, maybe like in 2008, I worked a winter, like some of the winter, not even all the winter. Some of that winter I was in Mexico, but like into December, and then I came back to work in January. I was in Big Bear, California.
At a ski resort?
No, I was working at it's a place called Astro Camp, and then I also worked at this environmental science school there. But it did snow a lot, and that was like my first experience with that, and I had no idea what to do.
We're going to get to the many overlaps between your life and my life. I also worked at Astro Camp a few years before you.
Yeah.
But I want to start with a more vulnerable question here, Diana, which is what's wrong with you?
What's wrong with me?
Why can't you just stay put and stick around one place for a while? Why are you always jetting off to some other place?
Because it's so much more fun to do that. I'm always like, what's wrong with everybody else, actually? I was like, I think I mean, you're like, why? It seems like everyone else is a sucker, Like, just kind of like...
That's kind of derogatory. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, like maybe they believed, like, you should do this, and... I just don't have maybe the same will to like conform. I think I have like a really strong anti-conformist. Like I'm really like critical of that. Not like a pushback. Like I take a look at it maybe a little more. I'm like, oh, why is everyone doing this? And then I'm like, that doesn't seem to make that much sense to me. I'm just not going to do that. So,
Well, there's two forms of anti-conformity. There's just this knee-jerk, if everyone else is doing it, I will do the opposite. But then what you just described is you took a close look at this life, this way of living, and you said, I actually think that won't work with me. And that's a bit more like reason-based, a bit more thoughtful, less knee-jerk. So,
yeah.
Which
Like,
is it?
I think I have, like, maybe my knee-jerk reaction is to be like, why is everyone doing this? But then when I, like, look at it and think about it, which I actually, like, think about it a lot because I have a lot of time available. But I'm still like, yeah, I don't think I wanted, it's so much more fun to not do that. And not just fun, but also just like fulfilling. And I just see a lot of people just kind of like going through the motions and robbed of their time. And I think time is just like the most precious thing in the world, So,
Yeah. So when you say, I see people doing that, going through the motions,
yeah.
give me the vision in your head of what that is.
Yeah, and I do honestly, like, I think about also that I have this like kind of storyline in my head of this is what people's our lives are like, and I am also critical of that. So I do like kind of revisit this and then tell myself like not everyone's life is like that. It doesn't have to be like that. But something that I think is quite common is that people I think are looking for security, and the way that you get security in the US is by working a 40-hour-a-week job. And that just drains so much energy out of folks, and they're going to work, they're coming home, they're tired, they don't have energy to do more things after work, they're exhausted on the weekend, maybe they're quite like adventurous, or they have sports, or they have hobbies, but even that, it just seems like you're really struggling to have time for yourself and to do what you want to do, and outside of like the energy that you put into work. And that just, it's like, what am I working for,
How do you respond to people who say, life's not about, once you leave childhood, life is not about doing what you want to do. It's about serving other people, fulfilling responsibilities and obligations. Either helping out family members like siblings, parents, or kids.
Yeah.
It's not about you.
Oh, totally. And I completely agree. But it's like I have so much more flexibility to do those things. Like now it's awesome because like my grandpa passed away last winter, and I was able to just like go home, and then I was able to fly for the funeral, be there. I was able to fly home and help my family empty out their house. I'm able to like be places at holidays, go and do things, see friends, travel around and see the people that I love and spend time with them. And then I have the flexibility and time to do that. So I just go to them. And yeah, my uncle and aunt passed away. I also was able to like show up and help the family kind of like just be there. So actually I think it makes it a lot easier to do those things, to care for the people that you love and to be responsible and be supportive. So.
Yeah, geographic flexibility plus time flexibility.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Having some money saved up.
Yeah, and the energy.
I can be there for people when they need me. Yeah. What do you see? What do you see among your? You and I are both in our early 40s. What do you see among people around our age in terms of just personal energy and stress levels? And maybe you can talk a bit about how this has evolved for you. I'm sure this has changed over the years.
Yeah, I think especially people that are my age, they kind of get like locked into like, okay, now I have the house. Now I have a job that I've like secure in. I have a lot of responsibility. I've been in this job for a while, so I'm kind of moving up. They're like pretty happy with their position and their company and their job, but there's just a lot less time and a lot more responsibility and generally a lot more stress. And they're just seem like they're just kind of like going through the grind and just trying to keep their head afloat, And I mean, I have a lot of different friends that I keep up with that live very traditional lives. And some of them are like, love it. And some of them are just kind of like, oh, I just am in it now. And now I can't really get out of it, But even the ones that love it, it's still like you have to choose to spend most of your energy and time on work. And I think I would just like to choose to spend my energy on time, like seeing the people that I want to see and doing the things that I want to do, and work is in there, but I don't want it to be like the main focus, and I don't want it to be like in my eyes it feels like it's stealing people's lives, like you're like just giving it away, you know? And I'm like, to who? Why? Like, it's like the most precious thing. It's like your one life, and you don't know how much more time you have left, you know? So yeah.
This is true. All right, let's get concrete. Let's zoom back in time. Were you raised super nonconformist? Did you come from a very countercultural family? Did you grow up on a hippie farm in the middle of nowhere, you know, raised by some cult members?
Oh my God, no. 100% no. Very traditional. Yeah, no, my parents are definitely like very regular. Like I grew up in a house on a street where all the other houses look very similar. My parents worked very hard to give me like very much like a normal middle class life. And they worked really hard to have like very standard jobs and just raise a family and go on your standard vacations and send your kids to college. Just like very, just, yeah, standard would be the word I would use. Yeah, just a regular house on a regular street in a regular city.
Where did you grow up?
I grew up in El Paso, Texas, which is on the border of Mexico and is very, I guess, like culturally maybe different from a lot of other cities in the U.S. because it is on the Mexican border and mostly Mexican American. But it is also just a big city, you know? So,
all right.
Yeah.
And tell me how you started to transition out of this normal American middle class upbringing. What was your gateway into the other world?
Yeah, I mean, I think I always just maybe had this like questioning, critical attitude or just like outlook, you know? I think that's just maybe just like part of my personality. But actually my sister's a little bit like that too. So maybe it's something about her upbringing that is just like not as obvious to me. But yeah, when I went to school, I had transferred schools, and then I had transferred to a school in New Mexico, and it was a very small school in a very small town, and I took a rock climbing class to meet more people as an elective. And then through that, I met all these like, you know, dirtbags, people that were like living in houses that were like condemned or, you know, just very frugal lives. So, and as it was, you kind of do that anyways because you're a college student. But it was also kind of just like really fun. Like, okay, now we're going climbing and camping, and now we're exploring all these different places. And I started going to Potrero Chico in Mexico, which was a really cool way to like be exposed to a lot of different climbers that were going there at the time. And I started meeting all these different people with different lifestyles that lived like a pretty seasonal life. And I was like, wow, that's really cool. And I had actually, even before I was exposed to that, when I was younger, I always thought it would be really cool to live in a van. And I was like, man, I wish I would have been like a teenager, early 20s in the 60s. I definitely would have lived in a van and traveled. And I just was like, man, I really missed that opportunity being born in the wrong decade. And then when I was exposed to all these other people, I was like, oh my God, people are actually still doing this. And I had no idea, you know? And I was like, that is so cool. And so I guess I just kind of like got into the more climbing thing, but also just seeing that it was possible and like that other people were still doing this and that there was like all these other alternative ways to live. That exposure kind of just like opened up like a whole world for me.
I think it was around this moment in college, you read a book, which was also a very important book for me, Vagabonding by Rolf Potts.
Yeah.
What happened to you after that?
Well, I mean, so yeah, after spending, you know, a lot of time in school, like all my weekends and summers, like kind of like wandering around the state of New Mexico and going back to that climbing area in Mexico pretty frequently, actually, I just was like, okay, I knew this world existed. I had asked people lots of questions. So I saved up money because I was like always working through school and was like, I'm going to go travel. Like this is something I always wanted to do. I'm going to do it. I saved money. I can do it. And so I looked online for like resources, and I ordered that book, and then I read about it, and I was like, cool, now I learned how to do the thing. You just got to like get out there and do it, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So it was just kind of like, I don't know, I just kind of decide I'm going to do this thing. Now I got to figure out how to do the thing. And I read the book and I was like, cool, just buy a plane ticket and go. So I did that. But actually my first, and oh yeah, I went to South America and I was like, I'm just going to go and I'll see how long I stayed there. I only bought a one-way ticket. But I had a really hard time and kind of hated it. So that first trip, it was like, felt very lonely. And I wasn't really sure how to do things. And I guess I had a hard time meeting people or connecting with people. And I missed my partner at the time that was still in New Mexico. And I was ultimately really sad. And then I knew two people that were in South America and I ended up meeting up with them. And then just coming back a lot sooner than I expected, which felt kind of like a failure at the time. But I was like, I guess I'll just see I don't know. I was like, I just tried it. I did the thing. I tried it. I didn't like it. That's fine. But after I came back and I like got back into my life in New Mexico, I was there for a while and then I got a job full time and I did it for like, I don't know, 3 months. And I hated that even more. So,
You're like, I can dislike some things, but other things I hate.
yeah. So. Yeah. I mean, I had a hard time traveling, which I thought I would love. And so that was kind of I was just like, wow, I thought that was going to be the thing that was really cool. And actually that was really difficult. But then working full time was even more difficult. And I was working in this lab with all these middle-aged, boring electrical engineer men. And I was like, oh my God, this sucks. So then that just kind of caused like this early life crisis, you know?
Quarter life crisis. Get it out of the way.
Yeah, but I'm very glad it happened. I'm actually glad I was that miserable because it really forced me to like look deeply and ask myself some like really serious questions, which like ultimately permanently changed the course of my life. So
my version of that was starting the Pacific Crest Trail and thinking I would through hike it and definitely love it. And after 2 weeks, I was like, I actually really don't like this, and I'm gonna leave right now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I was like, okay, I tried it. It's hard. I don't know. Maybe it's not for me. I mean, it's just being honest with yourself, you know. So.
Yeah. I remember a few summers ago. Being in the mountains west of Lake Tahoe, where the Pacific Crest Trail goes, and seeing a number of... I was on a kind of backpacking trip around Lake Tahoe, and I was going the opposite direction of most of the thru hikers. And a lot of these PCT thru hikers just looked like they were like clocking it in, like they were going to their day job.
Oh, for
like,
sure.
They looked pretty checked out, or just like, you know, earbuds in, and of course, you know, you're not going to look like you're enjoying hiking every moment of the day, but it did feel to me like, I wonder how many people doing this are just completing it because they started it, and the idea of getting off the trail is not in their heads.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's like they just don't want to quit. They just want to say they did the thing. But yeah, I mean...
Or it's too embarrassing to stop.
Yeah.
Once you started, you told everyone you're going to do this.
Exactly. Yeah. So I just kind of like, I guess, let go of that expectation because I mean, at least I had the wherewithal when I started traveling to be like, okay, Diana, let's just see what happens and see how it goes. And then I was like, this is going badly. So we can just go home now. It's fine.
Tell me a bit about what you studied and when you flirted with that normal job after coming back from South America. Just a little bit about the brief moment where you almost had like a normal job and a normal life.
Yeah. So yeah, I studied astrophysics because it's the coolest thing ever.
Yes, and a fellow astrophysics major for a while here.
It's yeah. When I picked a major for college, I was just like, I actually didn't even want to go to school, but my parents were like, you need to go to college. Like they really pushed education was extremely important. Which I mean, I agree it's important, but I wanted to take like a year off. They were not down with that. So I was like, okay, well, if I'm being forced to go to school, I should just study whatever I think would be really cool to study that I can't really study on my own. You know, it's like be really hard to actually learn on your own. And because there's all these other things I was really interested in. Like cultural anthropology was the other contender. But I was like, actually, cultural anthropology, you can like read a lot of books on your own and learn about it on your own. You don't have to go get a degree in it. And so I was like, actually, astrophysics is the other thing that I was like really obsessed with since I was a little kid. And so I was like, that is a lot harder to learn on your own. So I was just being really pragmatic, you know? So I was like, if I want to learn something and have to go to school for 4 years to do it, I'm going to just like learn about the coolest thing ever. I'll just major in astrophysics. I didn't have any kind of like long-term plan or necessarily want to work in it, but I assumed I would, you know? So I was like, I'll just get a degree in that. So that's what I got a degree in, although it was a little bit of a roundabout thing. Took a little while, but I did finish, and that was good. And then I had a research thing because I went to where I ended up finishing school was in New Mexico, and they had a National Radio Astronomy Observatory center on campus, which ran the VLA. It's a big radio telescope in New Mexico, and I had
which I learned about through the movie Contact with Jodie Foster.
Exactly.
Great movie. Yes.
It looks just like that. Yeah. Except they're not actually listening to, they're not actually listening to anything.
Yeah.
I was like, that's like a little funny thing they did there. But, yeah, so I had worked like building electronic stuff, like just kind of putting together the hardware for the VLA while I was in college as work. And then I did a research thing, which was really cool, analyzing a bunch of data. That was really cool. But the research is really just like programming, and so I was like, okay, it's cool. Yeah. I'm learning programming, and it was really great program for students, because then you're like hanging out with all these astrophysicists and you're like presenting in these conferences and you're like bumping heads with people, and it was actually a great program to really get in there and understand what an astrophysicist does and like get you exposed to all that. But I just was like, this is so boring. And I was like, I would just be sitting there programming and looking out the window the whole time. And we didn't have a strict schedule. And you could come late and leave early, which I did. And then after I went traveling, I came back and I just got my job working that I had in college earlier, which was just building the hardware, not actually doing the research, but building the hardware, which was a little bit more, at least it was hands-on. And then they hired me full time. They were like, yeah, we'd love to have you. We'll hire you full time. You can like work your way up, blah, blah, blah. But then even doing that, I was working with electrical engineers. I was like, I just hated every moment of it. I'd like come home and cry, And so, I mean, like I said, I think I did that for maybe 3 or 4 months. And then I was just like, I just can't do this. And so I started spending all my free time looking online for other jobs. And I was just like, okay, if you're not, and I also had already applied to grad school because I was like, you have to go to grad school, you have to go get a PhD. So I already took the test, paid the fees, got the recommendation letters, sent the applications in, was just waiting for an acceptance letter. And I realized I was dreading getting that acceptance letter. And I was like, what am I even doing? Like, if I'm dreading getting accepted, like that's what I'm supposed to want. And I was like, if I'm dreading this, and then how many more years? Average person takes a decade to get a PhD in astrophysics, And I was like, what the hell am I doing? And I just saw my professors and the other astrophysicists are always stressed and trying to publish. There's no funding. The people that I did my research project under had went to Harvard or MIT, and they were fighting for jobs. And I was just like, this just seems like some kind of rat race, and like they're just like conning you into this, So then I was just like, okay, I don't want this. That is clear. All right, have some clarity. If I don't want this, what do I want? So I really like dug deep and was just like, okay, Diana, if you could do anything and you knew you would be successful, there's no fear of failure. You knew you 100% would be successful, and you knew 100% you'd be able to like financially support yourself. So there's no fear of like, just like, I guess like security, like a lack of security. Like, what would I do? And so I had to like really think about it. And then I was like, if I was honest with myself, I was like, I really just like want to work outdoors. Like I want to like be a guide and work outdoors and lead trips like these people that I met when I was in Potrero Chico. But I had like no skills actually to do that. But I was like, but now I know what I want to do. And I was like, and if the only reason I'm not doing that is because I'm scared of failure, like that's just like not a good enough reason for me, And so I was like, okay, I know what I want to do. That's a moment of clarity. That's what I needed. So then I just like looked for jobs because I was like, okay, break it down into little steps. Like what skills do you have? What job can I get that works towards that like greater goal? So then that's how I found that job at Astro Camp. And I was like, cool, this is like a hands-on, this is outside. I'm totally qualified to do this. And I applied for that job and I got it. And I was like, great. And then I quit the job at NRAO and I moved to California. And that was like the start of my new life.
Oh my gosh. Did you enjoy working at Astro Camp, and how long did you work there?
I absolutely loved it, actually. Like, it was the coolest
thing. It really
thing
combines
ever.
everything you're talking about. You get to, tell stories about astronomy and the evolution of the solar system. You get to work with simple telescopes. You show them the Powers of 10 movie. Do the ropes courses, some light hiking, smash some pennies with, frozen with liquid nitrogen.
Oh yeah, it was actually really cool. It was like the coolest thing ever. And when I got hired, I was hired as like the assistant climbing instructor. So then I was just going out because during the summer for summer camp. So I was like, this is literally perfect. It was great. And the first year I was working there, it was all sorts of different people. A lot of them didn't have the astronomy physics background, but they were all like pretty outgoing, adventurous people. So it was like a really cool group of folks that I was working with. And then the last semester I was there, they started hiring only physics and astronomy degree holders, which really changed the instructor pool. And then I got bored again. And I was like, actually, I think I just am very sensitive to the people that are around me. Like, I just need good energy. And so I was like, actually, this is not doing it for me anymore. So then I left. But I mean, all the hands-on stuff, was just like so cool. And I loved teaching. I had worked at a science museum in El Paso when I transferred universities. In between, I took some time off. So I had worked at a hands-on science museum already. And yeah, I guess I was like, oh, this is actually hits like my like interest in science and love for people and teaching. So I thoroughly enjoyed it, but in the end, I was just like, all right, now it's time to go. So.
Yeah, I feel like a few years in the outdoor education sector is sufficient. And you told me previously that you kind of moved down the hill to Boojum, another outdoor education provider in the area.
Yeah.
And so for you, what made it seem like continuing to do this kind of outdoor education, like weekly programs with public school groups, what made this seem like it had a natural endpoint for you?
Well, I think it was just more like a transitional job, because I was like, okay, Astro Camp, I have the astronomy physics background. You don't need any like certifications. I don't have the expedition experience. So that was just like my step to outdoor hands-on work, working with like students. But it was still a job that I was qualified for. And then like Boojum was like, okay, the next step. Okay, now we're working towards like outdoor courses, more like technical skills, but they're providing a lot of training also. I'm getting a lot of experience. And then it was just kind of like, okay, and the next job I'm going to try to get is leading backpacking courses. And then I made my way into guiding. So it was all just kind of like little steps towards my ultimate goal, which was to be kind of like leading expeditions and guiding rocks and I don't know, something. I don't know. That was just kind of like my end, sort of like where I'm aiming for.
And just to spoil the punchline here, you did achieve that, right? You've been guiding and making money doing that for quite a while now.
Which kind of blows my mind sometimes that I actually did it. But I mean, I guess
for a few years, but like really you've been able to fund a really cool life by doing really cool work.
Yeah, it actually worked. The whole plan worked. Yeah. So,
the plan. I'm making air quotes right now.
Yeah. No, I know. People, I think that I don't like plan because of the lifestyle that I work. I was like, but I actually plan and think about things quite a lot. I just don't plan the same way other people do because I don't think it's necessary sometimes. But I mean, it worked. I'm guiding. I'm rock guiding. I did a lot of like long backpacking expeditions, backpack guiding, and I really enjoy it. I'm doing the thing.
doing the thing.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about the thing and like the money aspect and the long-term sustainability aspect. But first, I believe it was roughly at this point in your life that you seemed to hit peak dirtbag. Like you were living out of a Corolla, you were living off of $7,000 a year, you were dumpster diving. Is this when you started to do battle with winter?
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Tell me about your annual cycle at this moment in your life, mid to late 20s.
Yeah, so my mid to late 20s, I had gotten an internship in Maine rock guiding because that was my jump, my step over to rock guiding. That was great. I was doing that in the summers, and then I was working for Boojum doing base camp and some like shorter backpacking courses in the spring and fall, and I had my winters free. And so I was hanging out like in Joshua Tree, living in the park for free with all these other climbing dirt bags, hanging out in like Red Rocks outside of Las Vegas, also with all these other dirt bags. But it was cold sometimes, you know, and I was like living in a tent, which is like great. Or if I'm like moving around, I'm just sleeping out. It's like the West Coast, you don't really need a tent. But like sometimes, you know, I'd be in Joshua Tree and I'm like, breaking the ice off the outside of my like tent. Like I was like, oh God. Like I literally have to break some ice off. Breaking the ice off the tent so I could unzip it and get out, you know? And I was just like, this sucks. Or it'd be like really, really windy or like a hailstorm and, you know, and I'm like, now it's so windy and cold and I'm like sitting in my car trying to get Wi-Fi outside of McDonald's, you know, to watch a movie or something. And I was like, this blows. So, and so, yeah, that's when I was just like, ooh, I got to like figure out something else. I'm just like it was really fun and adventurous, but I think I need to go somewhere warmer. So that's when I started going down to Mexico to Potrero Chico because I'd done that a lot in college. And then that place also gets cold sometimes. So I was like, all right, we need to go warmer. And I was like ready to kind of like step up my game and do more like international traveling, which is what, since I was a kid, I just thought it would be like the coolest thing ever was to just travel to places that are really different, like super different culturally and just like learn about them. So I had some climber friends who were like, yeah, we're going to Thailand. And I was like, I want to go. So I kind of weaseled my way into that plan. And then we all went to Thailand together. And that's when I started doing my international. I mean, Mexico's international, but I grew up on the border of Mexico. So I guess I don't consider it as like foreign. It's not foreign to me. Going to Thailand, that was foreign, you know, so. But ultimately, it's a very good foreign, easier place for like tourists. It's very set up, you know, so it was kind of it was a good stepping stone. Yeah.
Yeah. And so what began in South America but didn't go as long as you thought it might be or felt more uncomfortable or intimidating than you anticipated. Yeah. You got back on that wagon and started to travel in Thailand. I know you ended up working at an international school in Korea and getting to travel all around Korea. Where else have you been? I mean, you mentioned in the beginning everywhere. Some of the warm weather places. Yeah. Where have you spent a lot of time internationally? Like where can you really identify with?
I mean, I've spent a lot of time internationally, so many places. I spent a lot of time in Laos, like in Phuket, because I was going back to Tonzai and then to Phuket. That's Southeast Asia. After that, I was like in India and Sri Lanka and traveling around. And I spent a lot of time in Korea. I spent a lot of time in China, in southern China. Went back to like Peru. I went back to Argentina and Chile. I've been spending more time recently like in the Mediterranean, so like Spain and Greece, Turkey, a lot of time in Turkey because I was kind of hiding there during COVID. So I've been returning there a lot. This last winter I was in Morocco again, and then I was in Egypt and I was like, oh, that was lovely. And then I spent a bunch of time in East Africa and Southern Africa. So I like going to different places. I'll go back. Like I went back to Morocco this year and that was wonderful. Checked out Egypt and I was like, oh, I'll probably go back to Egypt next year. So I've been all over, and I think the point is that I like to keep on exploring. Like I want to keep on going to cool places. That's something that's like new and novel and a very different culture than mine. That's like really important to me. Yeah.
So what percentage of your year just speaking in broad averages, have you spent traveling internationally or traveling within the United States, but not in one place working, even if it's seasonal work?
Oh, I mean, even when I'm working, I'm kind of like still traveling all over. Like I might be like, okay, I'm going to be in this spot in California. Now I'm in that spot the week after, and then I'm in this spot the week after. Okay, now I'm going to Utah. I'm going to work there. But so when I'm working in the U.S., I'm still pretty mobile. But generally, I mean, I haven't worked a winter since I think 2010 or something, or so it's like
And
I don't work
define
in
winter, what months are those for you?
like December, January, February. Yeah, maybe like late
Okay.
November
Yeah.
to
Deep winter. Yeah.
yeah, I haven't worked in the winter pretty much, yeah, since like 2009. Um, but yeah, sorry, what was it again? The question was
I'm just
where.
curious what percentage of your year you
Oh
get to
yeah,
spend traveling and exploring and
I would say
doing
3 to 6
adventures with
months.
friends.
3 to 6
Oh my
months a
gosh.
year. Yeah.
Diana, I got to ask you the hard questions at this moment. Do you have a trust fund?
No, I wish I did. That'd be
Is,
great.
is,
Yeah, somebody send me a
do
trust
you have
fund.
a
Okay, I gotta
do you
get a
have a
GoFundMe or
wealthy
something.
do you have a wealthy partner, or are
I
you
wish I did.
exploiting the unemployment system in the
No,
United
I
States?
don't
Or
actually,
do you
because
have
I'm a
any
gig
secrets to
worker.
how you? Yeah, right.
Yeah,
How
yeah.
how do you afford to do this? And
Because I'm
when
very
people ask
frugal.
you,
Yeah, no, I
all right,
mean my parent, like, I mean my family is like they're fine, but I also grew up pretty frugal. My dad's very frugal, which is awesome because I feel like I grew up not feeling like I needed things. Um, and I
what's
think
something your
that's
dad would
like,
not pay for?
my dad, my sister's the exact same way. So it's just like, it's like a family thing. I mean, it's like when I went to a Catholic school to 8th grade, and then I went to public high school. And so I was used to wearing uniforms. And then I went to public high school and I was like, I want clothes. I'm like a 14-year-old girl. Um, and I had one pair of jeans. And I was like begging my parents for another pair of jeans. And my dad was like, you have a pair of jeans. Why do you need another pair of jeans? Like, that's the kind of attitude.
Wow.
So, so I think that's like very much how I am. I'm like, well, I have this. Why do I need another one? Or like, it still works. I don't care if it's half broken. It kind of still
Yeah.
works.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think just like being very frugal, not feeling like you need all this stuff, and also being resourceful. I'm pretty resourceful. Like, I don't know. I guess I'd rather spend more
Give me an
time.
example. Yeah.
Like,
Like what's
you can
something that other
find.
people spend money on, and you, in your resourcefulness, you choose not to.
I like to cook. I buy cheap food. I buy fresh, cheap food. I don't need to buy all the fancy snacks and things. I don't need to go out to eat. I mean, yeah, I like going out and getting a cocktail, but I don't do it often. I'm like avoiding the cities, really. I mean, I would say like now in my current age, it's like, yes, I will go out to eat with friends and go spend money with them, but that's like still a special occasion and it's not like a normal thing. It's not a thing that's part of my life. And then I wait till I'm in like a very affordable country. And then I like, okay, now I'm going to go out and get a coffee. Now I'm going to go get a cocktail. Now I'm going to like go get nice meals. But I don't do that in the US. Like, so you have to like kind of balance that. And when I was making a lot less money, I was just a lot more frugal than am even now. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. I shop a lot at thrift stores. Like, I don't buy a lot of new clothes. If I buy new clothes, it's like I bought it in some cheap country. So I use the same things. Even my gear, my outdoor gear, I'm buying it from like used gear shops. Yeah, I think it's like there's like this very much consumer society. Like, you need to be constantly buying stuff. And I was like, you don't actually need to be doing that. So,
Well, there's your countercultural streak again.
yeah.
It sounds like our construction friends have arrived, but we will
Yeah.
press on.
Yeah, I
And,
could try moving to a different room. Would that be better?
No.
Okay.
It's fine. Let's stick with
Perfect.
it. So tell me how the pay works in your field of guiding, and when is it really good and
Yeah.
you feel rich, and when does it
Uh-huh.
feel a bit more mediocre or more like a struggle?
I mean, I think now I've just been doing it long enough where I can be more like picky about the work that I do. And like this winter, I was actually applying to a lot of jobs because the work I did last year, the company downsized quite a lot. So a lot of the work I did last year wasn't available anymore. So I had to be applying to jobs again this winter. And I got hired pretty much for every job I applied to pretty easily. So I feel like I'm in a really privileged position that I have lots of experience. And I'm probably one of the most qualified people applying for the jobs that I'm applying to. So it's like, for me, I'm getting paid enough. It's like you get a daily wage, and legally they changed it to it's like an hourly wage, but you're making enough money for me as long as I'm not paying rent. It's totally fine. Like I feel rich. This year I'm working less, and I'm just like, oh man, I'm making a lot less money. And actually, I had a backpack full of climbing gear stolen last week, which is amounting to I think I'm going to be over. I've already spent $2,000 replacing it, and I still have more stuff to replace. So I didn't feel rich then, but
that's rough.
Yeah, it is rough. But I'm like, okay, I'm privileged because I do have money saved, and for things that happened, unforeseen things that happen. And it's like, yeah, this stuff was stolen, and I'm pissed, and it's really expensive to replace, but I'm not I'm not screwed. I have money in my bank account to replace it, so that makes me feel rich, I can work more if I want to. I choose not to. That makes me feel really rich. I have friends in Seattle that I'm visiting. If they want to go out somewhere and do something, I can go out. I'm not going to go spend a lot while I'm out, but it's like I can go do that if I want to, so I feel rich. I have everything I need and what I want. So I don't know. I don't know what else you could ask for,
Listen, I'm with you. When you say as long as I don't pay rent, is this assuming that the places you work are providing rent? How often do you spend money for rent, for housing?
I don't at all.
Don't ever. Yeah.
When I was working at the guiding service in Maine, which was from 2010 to 2014 in the summertime, it was 10 weeks in the summer, I was forced to pay rent. And that was only from 2010 to 2014. And other than that, I haven't paid rent since 2009, I guess. No, actually, then I was working at Astor Camp, so I still didn't pay rent. So 2008.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you just maybe break down a year from one of your recent years as to where you've actually slept?
Oh, yeah.
You're working at some guiding positions that give you accommodation. What about outside of that?
Well, they don't give me accommodation. I'm not working. Okay. Yeah. So no one's giving me accommodation. So if I'm rock guiding, I just worked a climbing retreat this weekend. It's, at a campground based place. So I guess if they're giving me accommodation, they're giving me a place to park my little van, So I'm sleeping in my van. And then when I'm guiding backpacking courses, I'm out backpacking with the group that I'm guiding, So that's my accommodation. And then in between work, I have my little van. And before that, it was my car. And I'm just sleeping in public land. When I had the car, I was just sleeping out. Or I was just finding places to kind of hide and sleep, which I thought was really fun at the time. And the van is a lot easier to be discreet and just really be anywhere. But I'm mostly on just public land. And then if I'm in a city somewhere, which I've done maybe to go see a band or a show or something, I'll sleep in the van. It can be covert. But right now I'm just visiting a friend. But otherwise I would just sleep outside the city on public land somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about when you're traveling, in Asia or Africa or Turkey?
Oh, yeah. It depends. Sometimes I'm staying in hostels. A lot of time I'm also camping when I'm traveling. When I was in Turkey, it was a campground for climbers. Mostly climbers are there. But I camped, for 5 months. When I was in Chile and Argentina, I was climbing and we were camping. In Spain, I take a tent. A lot of times I'm camping at these also climbing hostel type places. Sometimes I pay for in Africa, I also took a tent. We did a lot of camping, but we also would get rooms a lot, if it's cheaper. This winter in Morocco, I was always staying in hostels and dorm beds, depending if it was really, really cheap, in Egypt, I would get a private room. But I'm really prioritizing the frugalness, you know? Like even Spain is a little cheap, but it's like I'm still about $22 for a dorm bed is kind of expensive for me.
At this point in your early 40s, do you ever feel a bit restricted when you're choosing to stay in a dorm bed in a hostel due to financial concerns? Does that get frustrating?
It does get a little frustrating, but like that's why again I just try to stay out of the big city. I don't stay in the big cities that long because they're the most expensive places, you know. And I'm just like, ugh, what am I doing with my life? I have to hang out with all these people in this like crowded little dorm room, you know. But honestly, I mean sometimes I feel like that, but then I've noticed a lot of the places I go, it's a really diverse group of folks staying in those dorm rooms. People of all ages, people of all different backgrounds. And I was like, oh, that makes me feel less weird about it, I think. But I'm also like, I just put in a lot more effort into like finding the nicer places, you know? Like I'm like pickier about like, okay, if I'm going to stay in a dorm room, try to find somewhere that looks like not super, you know, I don't know, gross. But I do prefer, like, I would rather camp, honestly. I would rather stay in a tent. I think it's much nicer, you know? So I kind of, like, seek that stuff out and a bit more pickier now about where I stay than I have been in the past. But I don't find it restricting. I kind of, like I said, I think about it a lot, but I still really enjoy it, you know?
Okay.
Yeah.
So it sounds like your thrifty superpower is not just saying no to new clothes or going out to eat, but it's also like actually enjoying the game of finding interesting, affordable accommodation when you are going to pay for it, and enjoying the game of where will I park my car or my van. So that I'm enjoying my life, not waking up and feeling miserable outside of McDonald's trying to get Wi-Fi.
Totally, yeah. I mean, I like being outside in these beautiful natural places. I really enjoy it. You know, like that was like kind of like the whole thing. I was like, I'm doing this because I love doing this. You know, so.
And it sounds like you genuinely enjoy camping. Like
I like it so much more than sleeping inside.
Out.
Yeah, I don't like sleeping inside.
Is there a moment you can think of from the past year or two, like a camping moment, like you woke up and this is what you saw or felt or experienced, and you're like, oh, this is why I do this. This is incredible.
I mean, all the time, honestly. Like, literally all the time. I'm like, this is amazing. Even, like...
Give me a name. Give me a place.
Okay, so even yesterday, like, I was at Mount Erie State Park in Washington, and... I was just like looking out over the water and I'm like working, you know, and I'm like setting up ropes for these women. It's like it's a women's climbing retreat. And I was like, this is so cool. Like, I was like, this is gorgeous. It's like so amazing. It's gorgeous. Everyone here is awesome. Like, I just love it. You know, like I can't, like, what could be better than this, you know? It's beautiful. And I was just like thinking of like when I was a kid, I was like, so, like up here, Washington, the summer is just like feels magical. Everything is soft and green. It's cool. The trees, the moss. It just feels like, I don't know. I feel really inspired by nature, and not just like nature, but just like beautiful, wild places. And I get to be in them all the time. And I just like love it. Like this winter, I was in Morocco, and I was like climbing with a friend of mine who flew out from California. She could only come for 2 weeks. And I was like, I literally can stay here as long as I want. Like, you know? And I was just like on a rest day, I just went like walking around the desert mountains. And I'm like, I feel 100% confident and capable, like being out here and like safe and like know how to get around and like be in the mountains. And it's awesome. I'm just like, it's just like feels so freeing and inspiring and like the most rewarding. It's just very rewarding. And then that's when it feels like, yes, this is all worth it, you know?
Diana, it seems very clear that you have carefully crafted like the time of your life and how you get to spend your time. I want to talk a little bit more about money and purpose.
Okay.
And on the money side of things, I'm curious if you can speak in broad strokes about how much money you've been living off of for, you know, each year. And then how much you're able to save in this lifestyle.
I've been able to save a surprisingly large amount, which actually shocks me too. I literally also am always like, how did I save this much money? I have no idea how I did that. um, yeah, no, I make, I mean, I would say like in the low 20 something thousand a year. So, and probably even less this year because I worked less because it was like employment transitions, which is like
Yeah.
really not that much money. But also when I think about like, okay, let's say someone who pays rent, maybe they're paying 1,500 a month for their like apartment or whatever. If you like add that up, it's like, okay, it's kind of the same as like making like, I don't know, 40 something thousand a year for a single person, which is kind of like just like on the lower end, but totally fine, you know? Like
Mm-hmm.
I don't have any debt. My van I bought with cash straight out because I don't want to be in debt. Um, and my student loans, like I went to a school that was quite affordable. And so I was able to, and I got all sorts of like grants and scholarships and stuff. So I was able to pay that off quite easily. So I just, yeah, I mean, it's actually totally fine the amount of money that I make because I'm not paying rent. And that gives me a lot of freedom to not work that much and to have a lot of time, which is like my ultimate. I mean, I like again, I'm always thinking about like, is this worth it? Is this worth it? Do I want to keep on doing this? And even more recently, I'm like, do I want to rent a room maybe somewhere so I can build more community? Do I want, all these things? But I'm like, at the moment, I feel like this still is like the best fit for me. I mean, I'm always trying to tweak it,
It,
but I'm still like, this is fine, actually. So,
I just think it's amazing that you can live for so long off of 20 something thousand dollars a year
yeah.
and be traveling for 3 to 6 months out of the year and be saving money at the same time.
Yeah, a lot of camping.
Yeah. But I
A lot
think
of
most people just think this is literally impossible. If you just lined
yeah,
up those series of
yeah,
qualifications and say, can these all exist together? They'd say absolutely not. If you live on
yeah,
that much money, you're already clearly in desperate poverty.
yeah. I don't know what everyone else is spending so much money on, honestly. But like, like I
um,
said, it actually
well,
surprises me too.
yeah, yeah. Let's pivot into the purpose field. You've been doing outdoor guiding and outdoor education for a long
Hmm.
time.
Hmm.
I do a lot of similar work. I think it's automatically very fulfilling. What's your experience been? Where have the lows and the highs been? How big is the spectrum of feeling you're doing something important, socially
Hmm.
meaningful,
Hmm.
personally purposeful?
Hmm. I mean, I think maybe I just also in general, I feel like I feel things a lot. So it's like there's highs that are really high, there's lows that are really lows, and but I'm like that's just probably no matter what I'm doing, that's just what my life's gonna be like. Um, but I mean, the most fulfilling things are, when you're helping, when people are just so like it's like I'm showing them another world, it's like look at this beautiful place and they feel really inspired by it and also like really inspired by what challenge they just overcame, and that feels like I'm facilitating that experience. That feels really really, that's when I'm just like wow, what is like casual for me and just my everyday life is like breathtakingly special for just one day for somebody else, and that also reminds me like how
Mm.
amazing this life is, and just to not take it for granted. And then the lows will be like, I work with a lot of very expensive private schools, and there's a lot of privilege in that, and a lot of these students just live these lives that are just like, I mean, nothing like I've ever experienced, and
Mm.
their level of entitlement, and which is, I mean, there's like just like kind of like innocent entitlement, but there's also not so innocent entitlement where their
Mm.
viewpoints and how they act and what they say and like, and I just see how there's like not a lot of accountability, and they just have everything handed to them and they will continue to, and these are the people that run our country and who are in positions of power, and then I start going down this like, and this is what's wrong with society and everything about this country and blah 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 blah, and then I just like hate everybody. That would be a low, I guess, is when I feel like now I'm just like catering to these students that, I mean, a lot of times they're like 17, 18, and I'm like, okay, they are not full grown adults. Like they're very much just influenced by, their environments, and I have to realize that. But also I'm like, this is a little microcosm of society, and I'm just like working with these people, catering to them, and I wish I could be showing these cool things and these experiences with more middle class and lower income folks, and I don't get to. That's unfortunately not who I get to share these experiences with. So yeah, that I wish could be different.
Have you tried to move in that direction of getting paid to guide people in that socioeconomic stratum?
Yeah, I've like thought about that a lot. I was like, how can I make this really rewarding? Like I actually this would mean a lot to me to work with like other companies that do cater to that. But it's just a matter of like making that work in the right place in the right time. It's like I haven't really been able to like figure that out quite so much,
Yeah. Yeah.
And I mean, Boojum sometimes
tricky.
would work with like, other schools that were more like that. And it was really cool, And like sometimes there's like scholarship students at these expensive schools I work at. And sometimes I get to work with those kids. And it's like way different, and I love it. It's just like I feel like much better able to connect with them,
You told me that you feel like you're aging out of the group of people who do this kind of stuff. The
100%.
the
Yeah,
van life.
yeah, 100%.
Yeah, and that you're happy to be on the fringe, but maybe not too fringe.
Yeah.
And specifically during COVID, you were wondering how long can you keep doing this, and should I keep doing this?
Yeah, I did have a little bit of
this.
This
Tell me
kind
about
of
that
like
crisis.
thoughts. Yeah, I think during COVID it was very apparent because I couldn't do the things I wanted to do. I couldn't go see the people I wanted to see. I wanted to do the traveling, all this, and I kind of was like stuck a bit, But yeah, I mean, like even the places that I go to a lot, like one place they were like, a friend jokingly was like, "Oh, you're like the elder now," and I was like, "Oh my God, don't call me that." But I'm 100% like older than everybody else. And even the folks that feel like they're aging out, I'm like significantly older than them. And the friends that I used
They're
to
like 35.
Yes, exactly. They're like 35, which I kind of feel like I'm like 35 anyway, so it doesn't really matter that much. I mean, and a lot of people I hang out with, they'll be like 25. And I'm like, okay, whatever. But it does, I do think about like, is this who I want to keep on surrounding myself with? How long can I keep on doing this? Do I want my social group to be this? I'm always asking myself questions. But then I'll go to like Europe, and actually the scene there is really different. And there's a lot of people in vans that just retired early, and they're traveling around, or they just have more time off. So there's people doing different things. I don't know. I'll go to Europe or Morocco even, and I was like, met all these other folks, and I was like, I actually could just do this my whole life and it would be fine. So I have these like wild swings. Yeah. Go ahead.
I've met a few people in Europe that are deeply inspirational to me. I remember a guy who hosted me in France, right near the Pyrenees. Mm-hmm. He was retired, and he was going on these epic, like 3 to 6 month long bicycle trips alone in places like Saudi Arabia and Yemen, or like just like out there. Mm-hmm. And he's like, yeah, this is just what I do. And and I agree. There's more people of more ages that who seem to still be super comfortable and proud to live this more like outdoorsy, frugal life.
Right.
And in the U.S., I feel like I run into people like that, but it's more often mixed with desperation.
Yeah. There's a very different attitude.
So my question is like, where do you find your and safety nets too. Where do you find your inspiration, your looking down the line and thinking like, maybe I can keep living like this? Like are there any specific people who stand out to you?
No, I don't feel like I have any specific people. And I think that's like maybe sometimes I'll have is like maybe some doubts. I'm like, is this okay? Is this because I don't really have any models? Or like anybody like, oh, well, this person did it and they're fine, and it creates like some doubt, especially, like my family's definitely like not they're like very worried, you know? So it's like, I think it's easy to have those like doubts and like, are you sure you're okay? Are you sure, you know, like kind of creep into my mind. So there's no specific people, but I do like meet a lot of people when I'm traveling, like a lot of people. And I guess it's just like I get lots of inspiration from all the different random people, not anyone I know well, but when I was like traveling around Africa, I met lots of people biking around different parts of Africa. And one guy had been like biking for like 15 years and he was in his 60s, you know, and he's like, I tried to go back home. My mom passed away. I went home to like whatever European country he was from. He's like, that lasted 9 months. Now I'm back out again, you know? And I don't know, I guess it's just like, there's a lot of ways to live and I can do it a lot of different ways. And I feel also very not stuck, you know, like I'm like, if I want to, I can just go rent a place or I'll go move somewhere or do, you know, I can do whatever I want. And so seeing just lots of different people doing different things and in their own ways just fit to whatever they want to do just gives me the inspiration to be like, you are fine, it's actually okay. But there's no one specific person. And I think that, like I said, I feel like if I did have some role models, I'd probably feel less like, oh God, you know, but maybe that sense of insecurity also just makes sure that I'm like covering my ass a little bit too, you know. So yeah.
You know, at some point we all run out of role models. Yeah. We need to become the role models for someone else.
Yeah.
Diana, if you did need to, let's say need, capital N, need to stop and stay in one place and get a so-called real job, 95, 50 weeks a year. What job do you feel like you would go for? What do you feel qualified for that would also, I don't know, pay you enough to actually afford paying rent and having this more normal lifestyle?
I mean, I think about that all the time. Also, because like, you know, my parents are getting older and I'm like, if something were to happen to them, I'd be the one to go take care of them, you know? I could easily get a job teaching, you know, it's like you have a science degree, it's like you have a math minor, it's like I could easily be a high school teacher. I feel like science and math teachers are always struggling to find. I feel like I have so much experience with students and I'm good at teaching, like I could do that. I think about tutoring also, I'm like I could do that. Event organization, because a lot of like these huge like base camp courses and just things, I'm used to doing lots of logistics. And have worked logistics for a lot of places also, and also just logistics of my own life. And I'm pretty detail oriented and like systematic, so I think that's easy. Also, I think I could like just go get a master's degree and do something like go back to science, do something like that. But if I needed a job now, I would look at like teaching, tutoring, something that, because I'd be happy to do anything. Like, honestly, I wouldn't even mind just working in a coffee shop or something. But I do enjoy the cerebral, like, just like something. I like math and science. And if anything, that's like, I miss that a little bit, honestly. Yeah.
Diana, it's been a pleasure to meet who I believe to be the closest version of a clone that I have in this world. It's a pleasure.
Yeah. No, it's lovely talking.
Yeah, I'm glad we finally got to connect. So thank you very much for coming on the Dirtbag Rich podcast.
Oh, thank you. And I hope this inspires other people to just like, you know, you can make your life whatever version you want it, like whatever you want it to look like, you know, so.
And she doesn't have any role models, so maybe I don't need one.
Yeah, exactly. Just like do what you want, because if you don't, nobody else is going to do it for you. You know, so.
Amen.
Yeah.